Northern senators under the aegis of Northern Senators Forum have reportedly confronted the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, over alleged padding of the 2024 budget with about 3 trillion naira worth of projects. Representatives of the 58-member forum, led by its chairman, Abdul Ningi, alleged the projects, which had no locations, were discreetly inserted into the budget. This is as the House of Representatives has called for a review of the 2024 budget projections owing to the free fall of the Naira in the past few months. So you would recall that the Senate passed the 2024 budget of 28.7 trillion Naira on December 30, 2023, after it was increased by 1.27 trillion Naira. At this point, Kikelomo Shodeko, risk consultant, joins me to discuss this. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Okay, at this point, let's see if we can bring our other guest to talk about this. That is Liborous Oshoma, while we try to reestablish connection with Kikelomo. Liborous Oshoma, it was nice. It's nice having you around.
My pleasure.
So, of course, you understand this is not the first time that the Nigerian legislative arm will be accused of budget padding. And this was as a budget that was increased by 1.27 trillion naira and okayed by the legislative members was, of course, put forward. So does this imply that due diligence wasn't carried out, despite the level of sensitivity and the impact it would have on the economy?
Yeah, first and foremost, let us understand the padding referred to here, or the accusation. The senator is accusing the federal government of inserting about 3-point-something billion on the budget passed. The senator alleged that the budget passed was a budget of 25 trillion. And so I am at a loss where the senator got his figure of 25 trillion from. And even in your intro, you did say that the budget passed was a budget of 28.7 trillion. The budget initially submitted was a budget of 27.5 trillion. And then the Senate added about 1.1 trillion to that budget, and it came to 28.7 trillion. And so I do not know where the senator got his figures from, because if you look at the news, really, on the 30th of December 2023, it was widely reported. Nairametrics reported it, the Cable reported it, Reuters reported it also, that the Senate, the two houses of the Nigerian Senate, of the National Assembly, passed a budget of 28.7 trillion. That is about $34 billion, which was increased from 27.5 to 28.7 by the Senate. There was even accusation also, if you permit me, that the Senate also increased its budget, an all-time high of 74.23%, from 197.9 billion to 344.85 billion naira. All of these were in the news. So I really do not know where that senator got his figures of 25 billion from, and that the budget was then increased from 25 billion to 28 billion. So that said,
does that mean that there was a miscalculation in what the senator representing Northern Senators, what he presented? Because one would have thought about what could have informed such an allegation being tabled or leveled against the Senate presidents.
That's why I'm at a loss that a senator would sit down and in the interview, I think BBC Hausa Service interview, he alleged that what was passed was 25 billion, was a budget of 25 billion. And it is a notorious fact, these figures are not hidden. It's a notorious fact that what was passed was a budget of 28.7. And so, and I expected that for a senator, a high-ranking senator, for that matter, to grant such an interview, he ought to have cross-checked his fact. If he's saying that the 28.7 billion, that the 3 billion had been added to it, then that is a different discussion altogether. And I also will think that this should not just end in the realm of accusation. You should, before you make such accusation, I think as a senator, one should be, a senator should confront the public with facts and figures to state clearly that, oh, yes, the budget that was passed, but that what is being implemented, that there is a project inserted that would, that surreptitiously or that is alleged to be implemented or carried out in so and so area, and the amount of that project will be so and so, or that such money or some funds that have been expended, that have been paid out by the federal government, for example, were not captured in the budget.
Okay, and so
this.
Yeah, Liborous, just permit me a few minutes. I need to bring in Kikelomo, Shodeko, to get a reaction on this also. We're looking at a Senate member saying that 25 trillion, not billion, was the actual budget size before it was eventually padded, according to his allegation, to 28 trillion, leaving a deficit of about 3 trillion naira. What's your take on that? You heard what Liborous said. Are you also amidst as regards what is being presented?
Yeah, I hear what he's saying loud and clear. He's very correct in the sense of, before you make allegations, you have to do your findings, right? And I'm a very big proponent of being an intelligence consultant, because part of what you do before you come out, before you can make that kind of allegation, is you have to have the proper information so that you do not disseminate the wrong information. Now, I can say clearly that budget padding, like we've come to call it in Nigeria, is not new, right? It's been said by some articles or some written, published articles that it's a new word in our dictionary, and it came to be when the APC came into government in 2016, right? So that's on a political note, right? But budget padding, the idea that the president presents a budget and the Senate and the House of Rep deems it fit to add something extra to it, without the knowledge of the president, without the knowledge of the people that elected them into space, is not uncommon in the Nigerian sphere. Sadly, that is the reality. And for me, what is important is that, first and foremost, because they know that Nigerians are generally not inclined to be interested in things like this. It's only a very few Nigerians that maybe have contracts and projects that have to do with government that really care about these things. But on the average, the populace don't really care about what is passed in the budget. And maybe on one or two occasions, we have like a discussion on some social media where people talk about it. But apart from that, we don't follow up. And the Senate and the House of Rep have done the Nigerian people a lot of disservice, in the sense that they do not respect the people. And all these allegations, nobody does any investigation to find who did what where, right? All they do is they give the media a bone to chew, throw it in the media, let the media chew on it, write articles on it, let people read about it and make a whole lot of noise about it. And after a while, they pass, it's signed, and that's it, right? So for me, on the first part, just like my colleague has spoken, is that proper investigation needs to be done. You need to get your information right before you call the media and start alleging that something has been done. On the second part, this is not a new thing. The Senate and the House of Rep are used to doing this. They mostly just give us extra where there is no extra. And as we remember, the House of Rep came and told us that, they infused the 1-point-something million for capital expenditure that would help the assets and things like that. So it's not a new thing. I will say that again. But at the same time, if there's going to be an allegation, let it be factual. Thank you.
Okay, so that is it for me, Liborous. So when we say it's a ritual, it's a thing that is always being done, and we see that this is something that nobody gets to check. For Liborous, what do you think in this case must be done? Because we're looking at how it will impact the overall expenditure, it would impact the Nigerian economy, it will impact implementation and the overall benefits or dividends that the Nigerian masses should enjoy. So what do you think at this point should be done, whether or not the facts or the figures are right, to ensure that there's accountability and transparency in what is being presented by the National Assembly and has been eventually ratified by the president?
First and foremost, I do not discuss rumors for the fact that it's coming from a senator, a ranking senator. If it's a rumor, it's a rumor. If it is not factual, it is not factual. And so I wouldn't want, like Kike has said, I wouldn't want to be thrown a bone at and then you keep me busy discussing the bone. The budget that was passed included a budget for recurrent expenditure, which is 9.92 trillion. And then 8.25 trillion for debt servicing. And I remember a lot of people shouted foul then that why would you be spending almost the amount that you're spending for capital expenditure to service your debt? And then capital expenditure is 8.7 trillion. If you put all of this together, you arrive at the budget of 28.7 trillion. So I do not know where Senator Ningi got his a budget of 25 trillion from. That's first and foremost flawed. Secondly, the fact that the National Assembly, adds to the budget, the court had ruled that the National Assembly is not a rubber stamp and that they have the power to add or remove projects from the budget that they think, are necessary and important. So to that extent, like when the issue of budget padding started, when a former House of Rep member, a chairman House Committee on Finance, accused the House of Rep of padding the budget. That was his word then. And the court ruled that they have the power to add or remove from the budget, that they are not a rubber stamp. You cannot just throw a document on them and ask them to just rubber stamp it and bring it back to you. So that laid the issue of budget padding to rest. But on the allegation of the budget passed or the budget being implemented is different from a budget that was passed, the senator, they say he who are alleged must prove. The senator has not been able to put material facts before the public to enable me say truly, indeed, there is a discrepancy between the budget passed and the budget being implemented.
All right, Liborous Oshoma, we might just pen this matter here because, of course, there's a tentative response allegedly by the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, saying that he does not know how that came to be, that the deficit in that's the allegation being brought forward by the Senate member there, saying that he does not know how that amount came to be, that probably it was added while he was in hospital. So this is a case that we need to revisit to look at all the facts, look at all the figures, and come out with what is evidenced and a truth so that we can present it to the public. Liborous Oshoma, Kikelomo, Shodeko, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us on the show.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine.
We're now going on a short break. Even as we wrap up on the show this morning, we will do a quick break right here. And when we return, we'll look at the remaining areas.